With the game dev world on fire not too long ago, I realized that it would probably be a great idea to learn more engines than only Unity, which is how I got to Godot. And now, I've spent 50 hours in it. So how does it compare to the thousands of hours that I have spent using Unity, and will I be using it for my commercial projects from now on? Well, there is a bit of a story there. In my last video on the topic, I talked a bit about my first impressions of Godot, as well as the things that I struggled with. Stuff like signals. However, let me tell you, signals are amazing. And once I finally understood how they worked, I can't explain, just thank you for existing. Anyway, for a while now, I had been thinking of remaking my game Greg's Mess and turning it into a commercial project because of its massive success after its initial release in 2021. And as soon as the Unity ship started sinking in September and every dev on that ship could only run around in circles, flailing their arms, I joined a bunch of those devs in Jumping Ship. A ship that's open to the public and any user can just grab some nails and a hammer and go, oh, yeah, that seems about right. Anyway, I just really wanted to use this opportunity as the perfect excuse to give Greg's Mess another shot while learning something new. However, that is not what happened. Wow, who would have thought that making a big game as your first game in a new engine would be a bad idea? Couldn't be me. I basically recreated the base game apartment level and character movement, which is surprisingly easy in Godot. Then I learned about changing the sprite order through code, which was perfect for this game, with Greg having to sometimes be in front of objects and sometimes behind them. I got used to collision shapes, animating sprites through sprite frames, and using some default signals, and things were looking awesome. I was genuinely feeling like I was learning a new game engine. But then, confusion hit. As usual. In Greg's Mess, you play as Greg, who's gotta clean up his mess before his wife finds out that he made a mess in the first place. This is all done through minigames, like throwing out trash, taking a shower, making the bed, cutting food, reversing a TV show, and bullying your cat into not eating your fish. And at the absolute center of this game is interaction. Like Greg can interact with an object and then the minigame starts. But while the basics of that worked, it felt super clunky and kind of inconsistent. Besides, the minigames are mostly about UI, and it turns out that UI in Godot is way scarier than UI in Unity. Also, why can't I slice sprites manually? Why can I only pick a certain amount of rows and columns and call it a day there? Why can't this chips bag be whole again? Using the engine became frustrating. Having made the game before and having become so much better at programming overall, I just wanted to make sure that I could make this a proper game already, without even knowing the basics of the engine. And that is a terrible workflow. It's unfair to me as well as to the engine. I was able to get a bunch of things working, but I hated how hard-coded it all felt. So my advice to you is very, very simple. Do not make your first game in an engine this way, even if you have thousands of hours of game development experience in other engines or just overall, and you hate watching tutorials. But you probably already knew that. Could have told me though. Why not just tell me, right? Unless you thought I also already knew that, because you'd be right. I'm just very stupid. And stubborn. I did make this tiny game though, and it was super fun to make, and it did help me understand so much more of the basics of the engine. So good job me. But now, what does this mean for the future? Will I be leaving Godot behind and just go back to Unity? Or will I put my focus completely on learning Godot and start making my commercial games there? Well, no. And no. I still want to learn Godot and get better at it, so I'll continue doing that. Just not yet with anything that I wish to turn into a commercial game at some point. In the meantime, however, commercial games will still be made in Unity. Speaking of commercial games, that includes Greg's Mess! It's happening! I finally started remaking Greg's Mess again completely from scratch in Unity. It is already so much better than the original, and I am super excited to start making new levels. I look forward to sharing more with you once I finish my current project, Château, and I no longer feel guilty about starting other projects. Anyway, let me know how Godot has been treating you, how you feel about learning it, if you have just started with it just like me, or if you started learning a different engine. Let me know what's going on. Now before you go, if you've come this far into the video, you're probably interested in game development. And maybe you are still learning game development. If that is the case, I highly recommend checking out Gamedev Rockets by my friends at Blackthorn Prod, which is a collection of courses on how to make video games from start to finish, going into detail on how to make sprites from scratch, as well as actually coding your game, and finally, obviously, also releasing it on Steam. And if you use the code SHELFMAN30, you get 30% off on the entire course, everything they have. This is not a sponsored segment, it is however an affiliate thing, so if you use the code SHELFMAN30, besides getting 30% off, you also support me as a creator. So yeah, go check out the link in the description below. Thanks for watching. Bye!